This week was La Fête Nationale or Bastille Day in France. You may remember learning about how the Bastille prison in France was stormed in 1789, a pivotal event in the French Revolution. While people started celebrating as early as 1790, the tradition continues with a spectacular Bastille Day's military parade and fabulous fireworks at the Eiffel Tower. Welcome to Kaleidoscope, where we are positive, daring, and different. On the show today, the newest Gratiaen Prize winner, the state of our vehicular affairs, and embarking on an Odyssey. Kaleidoscope is on 4 digital channels: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Do subscribe, follow, and like us. And we have some amazing partners on the show: SriLanka Live, CDB, and the Daily Morning. Thank you.
She wins with CDB Wings, exclusive financial solutions for women.
This is our look back at the week that was on CDB Snapshot. Sri Lanka's foreign remittances rise to $635.7 million in June, a 22.3% increase compared to last year. Sri Lanka's foreign exchange debt service obligations have been reduced by 57%, a $17 billion slash. Sri Lanka collects 1.368 trillion rupees in tax revenue between January 1st and July 11th. Sri Lanka's Employee Provident Fund had a net gain of about 50% from investments in listed and unlisted equities year-on-year in 2024. The UK's new trade measures allow apparel manufactured in Sri Lanka to enter the UK tariff-free. Switzerland is now turning train tracks into solar power panels to generate electricity without clearing land. The UK issues a warning for dogs to wear sunglasses and use sun cream in the crazy heat.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. SriLanka Life.
Welcome to SriLanka Life News Capsule. Sri Lanka's vehicle market is shifting gears. Volumes are rising. While small cars, two-wheelers, and EVs drive most of the demand, distortions in tax policy and government intervention in credit markets continue to muddy the road ahead. Murtaza Jafferjee, chairman of Kata, breaks down the data.
We've seen over 95,000 new vehicle registrations up to now this year. What does this say of our motor vehicle industry?
So we had restricted imports for almost 5 years. So there's a lot of pent-up demand that you are seeing, and that kind of explains the large momentum that we are seeing in vehicle registrations. So the statistics that I have for the month of June are registrations and not necessarily imports.
How have recent tax changes on vehicle imports affected the overall volume and also the variety of cars coming into Sri Lanka?
To my recollection, the level of taxation after the review somewhere in January is probably higher than it has ever been previously. So I think the Deputy Treasury Secretary at a meeting of COPEF said that for every dollar of imports, they are collecting $1.7 worth of taxes. Probably that figure may come down because it is probably skewed to some of the higher end things that have come in. I don't see those higher end vehicle momentum continue at the same rate to the end of the year. So how it has influenced the market is that 95% are small cars, as I said, and that's a much more affordable segment. But even an affordable vehicle is at least 10 million rupees. Because of the affordability issue, the financing is getting longer. So typically vehicle leases used to be 5 years. Now they have been extended to 8 years. That's how they are overcoming the affordability crisis. Although I must say that in most categories, the financing is still only about 50%. So 50% are paying cash and buying it.
We are noticing more and more EVs on the road. What trends are you seeing in the EV vehicle segment?
When you take the Chinese EV manufacturer, it is BYD that has a full presence in Sri Lanka because it is the local distributor is a joint venture between John Keel's and Chowdhury Group from Nepal. So you have generally a reputed distributor, Kumejan, and China's number one car company, which has a technological advantage on their blade batteries. So we have a very idiosyncratic tax system in Sri Lanka that you have a unit rate and on a value rate. So what the Chinese are able to do is that they are able to adjust the size of the motor engine to adhere to lower rates of taxation, right? I mean, they're not avoiding taxes. It's just that the way the tax system is designed. So if you take the Atto, the BYD Atto, in most markets, it would have a 150 kilowatt motor. In Sri Lanka, it's slightly less than 100. So then, because there is one band of taxation up to 100 kilowatts, you benefit from a lower band of taxes. So the idiosyncrasies of the tax system and the fact that they are competitive and they look good and there is a good distributor, that is the reason why BYD, for example, in June, there was about 1,250 registrations, up from about 850 registrations the previous month. So they are commanding 20 to 30% of the market in their segments.
And now here's what happened in our markets this week. The all-share price index at the Colombo Stock Exchange recorded a new all-time high of 19,000 points, although profit-taking saw it slip slightly below that midweek. Oil markets have largely ignored President Trump's threat to impose 100% secondary tariffs on any country that buys Russian oil. Oil prices are steadying at between $66 and $68 per barrel. Gold prices remained above $3,300 per ounce as concerns about the potential economic fallout from US tariffs and the Fed may keep interest rates higher, leading to renewed support for the precious metal. Tom&Jerry turned 85 this year. To celebrate, Abu Dhabi revealed a record-breaking 30-meter long cheeseboard. Talk about making your mark in cheese story. This year's Gratiaen Prize winner is dyslexic, and he grew up in a Sinhala-speaking household. He started learning English at the age of 9, straddling 2 languages and literature, reading George Orwell and Oscar Wilde with the same enthusiasm as Martin Wickramasinghe and Maha Gamasekara, and writing adventure stories in English despite confusing B and D among other dyslexia-prone issues. But Savin Edirisinghe's Kata, gossips, rumours and idle talk did much more than win the 32nd Gratiaen Prize. It breached that space between English and Sinhala languages. It walked the tightrope that defines new writers in multiple languages, and it became a story to uphold in English literature expectations. And it is now published. Savin, who works at Charana TV and is a marketer at Loops International, is one of the youngest to win the Gratiaen, and he's on Kaleidoscope. Let's talk today. Congratulations, Savin. How do you feel after winning the Gratiaen this year?
Thank you so much. I feel actually pretty overwhelmed, but in a good way.
So this collection of short stories began with the 2024 Future Writers Program. Tell me more.
That's the place where actually I got the courage to actually submit one of my short stories because I have been writing, as far back as I can remember. But I wanted to, submit it to that particular program. The main thing that I wanted to publish, the main reason I wanted to actually get into that program was because Ashok Fere and then Lal Madhuragama were the judges, and I highly admired their writing. So I wanted them to read my writing. So that's the main reason. I never thought I'd win.
What was the biggest challenge in putting this collection together?
The writing part, actually, because I had many techniques for me to start writing, even now, I don't consider myself to be a writer, because for you to be a writer, you should be doing that, every time, every second. But that was difficult for me because there were too many stories in my head as well. That's why I think I inclined towards writing a short story collection rather than a novel. So writing the actual ideas that was inside my head was the difficult part, I'd say.
So why did you hone in on gossip of all things?
Well, that is also another thing, because I'm only 25 and I haven't seen many of the things that, much experience and much seasoned writers have experienced and, actually see. So what I did was sort of, it's kind of like a hack. What I did was I listened to other people's experiences and stories. A lot of eavesdropping. Then I actually, went there and talked with people whom I found interesting and whom I thought, okay, this guy has a story. So that's why it's actually called gossip, and that's the glue that sticks all the stories together.
Now, you grew up in a Sinhala-speaking household. How do you manage the two languages? Is there one language that overshadows the other one at any stage?
So there's this quote by Charlemagne, I think he was a French emperor, who said, having another language is like having another soul. But sometime back, I wrote a poem called Bilingual Sankara, in which I say, I know two languages, so these two languages may cancel each other out. So in turn, I think I may have no soul at all. So that was very difficult for me, having the idea and then choosing what language to write it in. I would say for poetry, I mostly use Sinhala, but for prose, I use English. So I'm bipolar in that manner. I don't know what language to use still.
How did your dyslexia shape your writing skills?
Even now, you should see my first draft. That was, it was completely red lines on my computer, red lines and grammar mistakes, especially spelling mistakes, because I am still, it's still there with me. So actually, the speed of me thinking is much faster than speed of me writing. So that makes my handwriting especially bad, and also sometimes my idea runs away from me. So what I do is I try to slow myself, especially my mind, and then write in a way which is not actually accurate, but gets the idea down on the paper. Then what I do is I revisit it and, adjust everything.
If you were to give some advice to any young writers, what would you tell them?
Write till you feel right. That's what I did as well. I wrote until I felt right, inside and also outside. So, which is subjective, because I don't feel right, like just like this. It's not instant. It takes time. But some people, might write something and feel very right about it. That happens as well. So I would say, trust your gut and write till you feel right. Yeah.
What's next for you?
Now I have to write. So I'll be writing a lot of novels and both short stories, and also I want to get into poetry as well, because that's where I started actually. I love poetry, and it's the most Gen Z thing to do, writing poetry, because it's very instant. It's instant to write, it's instant to read, and I would go in that direction as well. So maybe become a poet. Yeah.
What happens when 10 artists turn their life journeys into bold visual storytelling? At the Harold Pierce Gallery recently was Denary Odyssey, not just an exhibition, but a kaleidoscope of voices, materials, and moments that speak volumes without words. From copper and stone carved into balance to the delicate tension between man and nature, spiritual echoes emerge through ancient symbols in abstract form, and neo-traditional strokes invite deep dialogue and quiet reflection. Tradition and technology are blurred, pushing boundaries of perception. Bold shapes shout the silence of psychological conflict, and vibrant bodies celebrate the diversity, embracing the unapologetically real. Here, even the materials have a say, shaping not just art, but the artist's very intent. Denary Odyssey, 10 stories, one powerful journey. This weekend, take a peek at Kata. Good gossip, if ever there was. We'll see you next week.